Every mother wants her children to be happy, to have a good education, to do well in life. But children grow up, and some mothers find it hard to let them go. It is natural for children to leave home, to look for excitement, to start their own lives, free from their parents, but to leave and never return. Kitchell Street was now Uhuru Street. My two sisters got married, and mother was sad to see them leave home. Meheron and her husband lived in the town, but Razia was a rich housewife in Tanga, a town on the coast north of Dar es Salaam. Firoz, my older brother, did not finish his last year at school, and no one was surprised at that. He was working in the office of a big shop. Mother's hopes were now on the youngest two of us, Alo and me. She wanted us to study hard and not to spend time working in our store. So one evening she locked up the big doors for the last time and sold the store. That was just 1 week after Raiza got married. We moved to a part of town called Upanga, which was a very quiet place. After the noise and hurry of Uhuru Street, we no longer heard the sounds of buses, cars, and bicycles. We heard the sounds of insects and small animals, of leaves rustling in the wind. There were only a few houses in Upanga at that time, and behind the houses was wild land with tall trees. There were no street lights, and at night it felt a lonely, frightening place. Sometimes in the evenings, when mother felt sad, Alo and I played card games with her, but now I was at university, living there during the week and coming home at weekends. Alo was in his last year at school. He was a clever student, in fact, much cleverer than we knew. That year, Mr. Dato, who was once a teacher at our school, came back from America for a visit. He was a favorite with the boys, who were all pleased to see him. For the next few days he went around the town followed by a great group of boys. One of them was Alo. It was because of Mr. Dato's visit that Alo began to think about his future. Could he perhaps get into an American university? Of course it was expensive, but could he perhaps win a scholarship to pay for it? All throughout the rest of that year he wrote to universities in America, finding their names in books. Mother just smiled at all this busy letter writing. "Oh, yes," she often said, "you uncles in America will pay money just to send you to college. Oh, yes." We all knew that was not true, of course. Mother just didn't take Alo's plan seriously. Some weeks later, answers to the letters began arriving, with big, shiny prospectus. Slowly, Allah learned which universities were good, which were famous, which were the best for this or that subject. He learned that people could study all kinds of strange and interesting things. An exciting new world was waiting for him out there. But could he get there? Was he good enough? Of course Allah had a place at our own university. At the end of the year his name was on the list, but it was not what he wanted. He wanted to study medicine, but they gave him a place to study agriculture. Allah was not interested in farms or farming. He wanted to live and work in a city, but nobody could change the list. Then a letter came for Allah from the California Institute of Technology, a famous college in America. They offered him a place with a scholarship. Allah could not believe it at first. He read the letter again and again. Then he asked me to read it. When he was sure there was no mistake, he was so happy. Agriculture, he laughed. They can forget it. But first he had to talk to Mother. Mother did not believe him. Go away, she said. Stop playing games with me. But it's true, Alo said. They are giving me a place with a scholarship. The three of us were at the table drinking tea. Mother stared down at her tea for a while, then she looked up. Is it true? She asked me. Yes, it's true, I said. He only needs to take $400 spending money with him. How many shillings would that be? She asked. About 3,000. And how are we going to get 3,000 shillings? And what about the plane ticket? Are they going to send you ticket to? Our hopes began to look unreal. She was right. He would need much more money than that. Can't we borrow some money? He asked. I will work in America. Yes, I will work in a restaurant or something. I know students can do that. I will send the money back. Maybe you have uncles in America who will help you, Mother told him, but no one he will. Allah looked unhappily, and he sat there staring at the table. Mother drank her tea slowly, thinking. Then she put her tea down. She was angry. And why do you want to go away so far from us? What kind of son are you? You want to leave me and go away to a foreign place? Won't you miss us? Are we so unimportant to you? If something happens, Allah was crying. So many kinds go and return, and nothing happens to them. Why did you let me write to all these places if you didn't want me to go? Why did you let me hope? He was shouting at her, but the only time I ever heard him to do that, and he was shaking. He did not speak about it again, and he prepared himself for agriculture college. While he waited for the college year to begin, he just read novels lying in a chair at home, reading for hours and hours. Mother was not made of stone. She knew how Allah felt about studying agriculture. A few days later, on a Sunday morning, she looked up from her sewing machine and said to the two of us, let's go and show this letter to Mr. Velji. He understands things like this. Let's take his advice. Mr. Velji was one of our school officers. He had a large head which looked like an egg and a small, neat body. He wore big black glasses and looked like a clever man. He sat in his sitting room waiting for him. He walked in like a soldier and welcomed us. Allah and I stood up politely. How are you? He said to Mother. What can I do for you? We have come to you for advice, Mother began. Speak then, he said, smiling, and sat back to listen. Mother told him all about our family, about our father's death, and what all her older children were doing. And now, she said, pointing at Allah, this one wants to go to America. Allah showed him the documents. Allah put all the papers into Mr. Welch's hands. How did you do in the school exam? Mr. Welch asked. At Allah's answer, Mr. Welch's eyes opened very wide. All, he asked. Yes, said Allah. Mr. Welch read the papers carefully. The long visa form, the friendly letter from the foreign student advisor, the letters of welcome from the student houses. At last he looked up. The boy is right, he said. The university is good and they are giving him a scholarship. It is a great thing. But what must I do? Asked Mother, worried. What is your advice? Tell us what we must do. Well, said Mr. Welji, it will be good for his education. He stopped, then went on a little slowly. But if you send him, you will lose your son. It is a far place, America. When we walked back home, Allah whispered angrily, all the rich kids go every year and they are not lost. Mother was silent. That night she was at the 7 machine and Allah was reading. Through the open front door a little wind came in, bringing some welcome cool air into the hot room. I was standing in at the door, listening to the night sounds, trees rustling, voices from young people and the street calling good night to their friends. After a while, Mother looked up and said, without any great interest in her voice, "Well, show me what this university looks like. Bring the prospectors, will you?" The three of us sat down to look at the prospectus. We turned the shiny pages, looking at the pictures of tall, grand buildings, students hurrying here and there, classes taking places outside under the shade of trees. It all looked so wonderful. "It's something, isn't it?" whispered Allah. He could not hide the excitement in his voice. "They teach everything there," he said. "They send rockets to the moon." "If you go away to the moon, my son, what will happen to me?" Mother asked, smiling. Allah went back to his book and Mother to her 7 machine. A little later I looked up and saw Mother's face. She was thinking deeply. That was the first time I saw her as a person and now just as our mother. When Father died she was only 33. It was a hard life, with 5 children and no husband. In the years after his death several men asked her to marry them, but she always refused to marry again because of us. Children of a first marriage cannot stay with their mother in a second marriage. They are sent to a children's home. There were pictures of Mother before Father died. They showed her smiling and pretty, wearing beautiful clothes. I never knew her when she was like that. I knew only a worried, unsmiling face, a face with deep lines getting deeper every year, hair getting thinner, a body getting fatter, a voice no longer soft. I remembered her arms around me when I was a young child. I remembered it was difficult to breathe because she held me so close. She looked at me, looking at her, and said not to me, "Promise me that if I let you go, you will not marry a white woman." "Oh, Mother, you know I won't," said Allah. "And promise me that you will not smoke or drink." "You know I promise," he was almost crying. Alsa's first letter came a week after he left, from London. He stopped there to visit an old friend from school. The letter was full of excitement. "How can I describe," he wrote, "what I saw from the plane? Mile after mile of green fields, neat green squares, even the mountains are clean and tidy. And London, oh London, it never ends. Houses, squares, parks, gardens, great buildings. How can any city be so big? How many of our dear Salmas would go into this one beautiful city? A bird flying high and free. Mr. Welgi sitting in his chair, his wise face full of understanding. Mother staring into the future."